Someone is trying to reach you while you sleep, not through distance, not through memory, not through the ordinary grief that visits you in quiet moments during the day. This is something else entirely. This has already been happening. You just did not have the words for it yet. And something in you is shifting because of it, even if you have not allowed yourself to say it out loud. Welcome. If you have been waking up from a dream feeling like you just lost someone all over again, this channel exists for exactly that moment. Subscribe if you want to understand what is actually happening, because what you are about to hear changes the way this feels completely. I'm going to walk you through 10 signs that what you are experiencing is not random, not grief playing tricks, not wishful thinking. Stay until sign number 7. That is the one most people find impossible to explain away. And the final sign changes everything about how you understand these dreams going forward. Sign number 1. The dream felt nothing like a dream. You were not flying. There was no strange architecture, no plot that made no sense by morning. You were sitting at a kitchen table. There was afternoon light hitting the surface just right. And they were simply there. No explanation. No grand entrance. Just sitting across from you, the way they always did. And the intensity, the unbearable, crushing intensity of it did not come from anything dramatic. It came from realizing, somewhere inside the dream, that the seconds were running out, that you were about to wake up, and that when you did, they would be gone again. Most people assume intense dreams involve chaos, fear, something cinematic. They do not. The most emotionally devastating dreams are the quiet ones. Dr. Joshua Black, who has spent years researching grief dreams, found that dreams involving deceased loved ones are consistently described as unusually vivid, emotionally precise, and categorically different from ordinary dreaming. What this means for you is the unbearable weight you felt was not your imagination amplifying something ordinary. It was your nervous system registering something it recognized as real. You were not being dramatic. You were responding accurately. Sign number 2. You saw their face the way you have not seen it in years. Not blurry, not shifting, not the low-resolution version that memory sometimes produces when you reach for it too hard. You saw the exact crinkle at the corner of their eyes, the way their mouth moved just before they spoke, the specific warmth in their expression that belonged only to them. And when they looked at you, it did not feel like your brain generating an image. It felt like a consciousness looking back into yours. Most people assume this is just detailed memory retrieval, the brain pulling files. It is not. Harvard Medical School researcher Deirdre Barrett has documented that dreams replay emotionally significant memories with enhanced realism and emotional precision that exceeds ordinary waking recall. The sensory detail is not incidental. It is the mechanism. What this means for you is you were not imagining them more clearly than you remembered them. You were accessing a version of them that your waking mind, busy protecting you, normally keeps just out of reach. That face was not constructed. It was held. But what comes next is the part most people never talk about, because the dream itself is only half of it. Sign number 3. The room felt different when you woke up. You opened your eyes, and it did not evaporate. That is the thing about ordinary dreams, they dissolve before your feet touch the floor. This one did not. The air in the room felt heavy, peaceful but heavy. There was a stillness instead of the usual morning confusion, and a certainty, warm, quiet, inexplicable, that remained in your chest for minutes, sometimes hours, before the ordinary world slowly reclaimed you. Most people assume this is just the emotional hangover of a vivid dream, residue from neural activity. It is not. Research on grief dreams consistently documents what is described as a tangible atmospheric shift upon waking, something categorically distinct from ordinary dream recall. The lingering is not imagination. It is recognition. What this means for you is your body knew something that your logical mind was not yet ready to process. The stillness was not sadness. It was contact. It was the unmistakable feeling of having been met. Sign number 4. It happened right before something in your life changed. Think back. Not always, but often enough to be worth noticing. The dream arrived right before something difficult entered your life. A transition you did not ask for. A decision that terrified you. A collapse, quiet or loud, of something you had built your sense of safety around. And in the dream, they did not arrive with answers. They sat beside you. They placed a hand on your shoulder. They handed you something small and ordinary. And then you woke up, and the chaos arrived but you moved through it differently than you expected. Most people assume this is coincidence, the mind seeking comfort when it subconsciously senses stress. It is not. Research on emotional memory consolidation shows that unresolved grief and attachment wounds are selectively replayed during sleep, especially during periods of psychological threat, as if the brain deliberately activates its most powerful emotional resources exactly when they are needed. What this means for you is that dream was not random timing. It was the architecture of your own resilience activating. They showed up because some part of you called for them, and they answered. But here is where it gets uncomfortable. Because not all of these dreams are healing you. Some of them are quietly keeping you from living. Sign number 5. You have started to live for the dream. This one is harder to say. Some people, maybe you, maybe someone you recognize, begin to treat their waking hours like a waiting room. The day becomes something to endure. Work, conversations, errands, all of it dims to a flat, uninvolving gray. Because sleep is where they get to go back. Where the person is still there, still recognizable, still completely and perfectly themselves. And reality, with its imperfect living people and its ordinary emotional demands, cannot compete with something frozen beautifully in time. Most people assume this is simply love, that it means the bond was deep. It is not just that. Dennis Klass, Phyllis Silverman, and Stephen Nickman, the researchers behind continuing bonds theory, distinguished between adaptive grief connection and grief that quietly builds a world inside a mirage. The dream version of someone cannot grow, cannot surprise you, cannot need you. What this means for you is this: if the dream has become more real than the room you wake up in, something important is asking for your attention. Not because the connection is wrong, because you deserve to be present in your own life. Both things can be true at once. Sign number 6. There was a coincidence attached to the dream that you cannot explain. You dreamed of them specifically, not a vague impression, but a specific image. A blue suitcase, a particular expression, a moment with a particular emotional texture. And then you woke up, and something in the waking world mirrored it exactly in a way that defied ordinary probability. A message sent at 3 a.m. A song that played in a store carrying the exact emotional note of the dream. A phone call from someone who had no way of knowing. Carl Jung called this synchronicity, meaningful coincidences between inner emotional states and external events that share a symbolic connection without a causal one. He was not speaking poetically. He was describing a documented phenomenon in which the boundary between inner and outer reality occasionally becomes porous in ways that resist purely mechanistic explanation. What this means for you is this: you are not making connections that are not there. You are noticing a pattern that genuine researchers have taken seriously for over a century. What you felt was not projection. It was pattern recognition. And pattern recognition is how the deepest truths tend to arrive. And that is not even the part that changes things. What comes next is the sign researchers did not expect to find. Sign number 7. They were not who you think they were in the dream. This is the uncomfortable one. This is the one most people resist. Because when you dream about someone who left, whether through death or distance or a relationship that ended, the assumption is that the dream is about them. It is usually not. Most people assume the dream is literal, that the mind is simply replaying a lost relationship. It is not. What research on emotional memory and grief processing consistently shows is that the person in the dream functions as emotional shorthand, a symbol the brain has chosen because their face carries the fastest route to an unresolved feeling. They are not just themselves. They are every version of safety you felt and lost. Every version of yourself that existed while they were still in your life. When they left, through death, through ending, through change, a version of you left too. And the dream is not trying to give them back. It is trying to give you back to yourself. What this means for you is this: the grief in that dream is partly, quietly, grief for who you were when they were still there. And that part of you is not gone. It is waiting for you to recognize it without needing their face to access it. Sign number 8. Your body remembered before your mind did. You woke up not knowing yet what you had dreamed. And then the feeling arrived before the memory did. A sudden hollow drop in the stomach. A pressure directly in the center of your chest, heavy and specific. The sensation of breathing in but the air feeling too thin to reach your lungs. Your throat tightening, not quite crying, but the body already preparing for it. A cold ache that had no location you could point to. Most people assume this is emotional response following the memory. It is not. Emotional memory consolidation research shows that the body encodes grief as physical experience. When a dream reactivates an unresolved emotional wound, the nervous system does not distinguish between the dream and a current-day event. The physiological response is identical. Your body was not reacting to a memory. Your body was processing a present experience. What this means for you is the physical weight you carried through the morning was not weakness. It was your nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do, completing something that had been left incomplete for a long time. Sign number 9. The skeptical explanation never quite fit. You have been told. Of course you have. Random memory processing. The brain defragmenting its hard drive. Neural firing patterns with no more meaning than static. And some part of you nodded, because you wanted to be sensible. You wanted not to be the person who read too much into a dream. But it never fully settled. Because random noise does not arrive with the emotional precision of a specific conversation. Random noise does not hand you resilience the night before a collapse. Random noise does not leave a physical sensation in a room. Marcus Aurelius wrote that loss is nothing else but change, not erasure, not ending, but transformation into something that continues in a different form. The Taoist principle behind impermanence teaches the same thing, that what appears to end does not disappear, only changes its nature. What this means for you is the skeptical explanation fails not because you are wishful, but because the emotional architecture of these dreams is too precise to be accidental. Something is being processed, something is being completed. And the word for that is not random. It is intentional. This is the part that changes things. Because this next one does not just happen around you. This one happens through you. Sign number 10. You woke up knowing something you did not know before. Here is what is actually true about the dream you keep returning to. It is not proof you are stuck. Statistics from grief research tell us that 46 to 58% of people report dreaming of someone they have lost. Among those who lost a partner, that number rises to 86%. More than half of all people report some form of continued felt presence from someone who is gone. You are not unusual. You are not broken. You are not unable to move forward. You are human, moving through a loss that mattered. And the dream, the one that keeps coming back, the one that leaves the room feeling different, the one that you still think about even now, is not evidence that you are holding on too tightly. It is evidence that the bond is still alive in its own way. That love does not require a physical presence to continue doing what love does. Before you scroll, think about the one moment from a dream that has stayed with you. Not the whole dream. Just one detail. A face. A word. A room. A feeling you woke up carrying. Drop just one word in the comments. Not an explanation. Just the word. I read every one.